concept of wealth in Christianity has been a topic of debate for centuries, with many believing that Jesus preached a message of poverty and humility. However, a closer examination of the Bible reveals that Jesus' teachings on wealth are more nuanced and multifaceted. In fact, Jesus wants us to be wealthy, not just spiritually, but also financially and materially. This may seem counterintuitive, but it is essential to understand the biblical context and the purpose of wealth in God's plan. Firstly, it is crucial to recognize that wealth is not inherently evil. The Bible teaches that wealth is a blessing from God, and it is meant to be used for His glory. In Deuteronomy 8:18, Moses reminds the Israelites that God gives them the power to produce wealth, and in Psalm 112:3, it is written that wealth and riches are in the house of the righteous. Jesus himself said that He came to give us life in abundance, which includes financial prosperity. John 10:10. Jesus' teachings on wealth are often misunderstood because of the parable of the rich young ruler, Matthew 19:16-30. In this story, Jesus tells the young man to sell all his possessions and follow him, which has led many to believe that Jesus is against wealth. However, this interpretation misses the point of the parable. Jesus was not condemning wealth, but rather the young man's attachment to it. The young man's wealth had become an idol, and Jesus was calling him to prioritize his relationship with God above his material possessions. Moreover, Jesus' ministry was funded by wealthy individuals, such as Mary Magdalene and Joanna, who used their resources to support his work. Luke 8:2-3. This demonstrates that Jesus was not against wealth, but rather recognized its potential to be used for good. In fact, the early Christian church was known for its generosity and philanthropy, with believers using their wealth to care for the poor and marginalized. Acts 2:44-47. The biblical principle of stewardship is also essential to understanding why Jesus wants us to be wealthy. As stewards of God's resources, we are called to manage our wealth wisely and use it to advance His kingdom. In the parable of the talents, Matthew 25:14-30, Jesus teaches that we will be held accountable for how we use our resources, and those who are faithful with little will be given more. This implies that wealth is not an end in itself, but rather a means to achieve God's purposes. Furthermore, wealth provides us with the opportunity to bless others and demonstrate God's love in practical ways. When we are financially secure, we are able to give generously to those in need, support ministries and missionaries, and invest in our communities. This is not just a matter of writing checks, but also of using our resources to build relationships and bring people to Christ. Finally, it is essential to recognize that poverty is not a virtue in and of itself. While humility and simplicity are essential Christian values, poverty can be a result of sin, oppression, or systemic injustices. Jesus' teachings on wealth are not about romanticizing poverty, but rather about using our resources to create a more just and equitable society. In the book of Proverbs, it is written that the righteous will have their needs met, and they will be able to bless others. Proverbs 19:17. In conclusion, Jesus' teachings on wealth are more complex and nuanced than often assumed. While He warns against the dangers of wealth and materialism, He also recognizes the potential of wealth to be used for good. As believers, we are called to be wise stewards of God's resources, using our wealth to advance His kingdom, bless others, and demonstrate His love in practical ways. By embracing this biblical perspective on wealth, we can experience financial freedom, generosity, and joy, while also fulfilling our purpose as followers of Christ.